Sustainable agriculture in Africa not possible without small-scale farmers, says President Kashim Shettima.
Mieti Allah inaugurates more than 1,400 into nomadic vigilante security group in Nasarawa State.
And Nigeria Super Eagles defeat AFCON host Côte d'Ivoire in second match of the tournament.
And then good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall discuss President Tinubu's key priorities in 2024 and the agenda for new NSE president.
All right, so it's been 7 months of unpredictable chain of events for Nigerians as the current administration made its way into, of course, a new year and a new financial year. Nigerians have witnessed a wave of suspensions, arrests and investigations of current and former government officials. Now, this January alone, suggesting a deliberate attempt at tackling, indeed, the growing corruption.
Very true, Claire. Though the endemic nature of corruption in Nigeria's public service may not be new, it is clear that President Bola Tinubu is aware that in 2024, his administration will be defined by how it fights the current anti-corruption war.
And the budget have renewed hope agenda of 2024 now indicates that the priority areas given by this administration will be security. And that's an issue that has negatively, of course, impacted on the food subsector, of course, including food, cost of food stuffs and nutrition in every part of the country. Now, the role of the armed forces in bringing down or hopefully curbing the spate of kidnappings, banditry, and insurgency in different parts of the country will be very critical, and also shape, the face of the current administration this year.
And just talking about security quickly, this morning, how did you wake up? For me, I woke up to see something different on our roads this morning. Just coming out from my estate, I saw 2 trucks, and I saw military men armed, at about, say, 5 a.m., Did I say 5 a.m.? About 4:30, actually. Yes, and then, for us in the vehicle, it just, goes to show that, yes, the president is actually matching words with action. I'm sure you remember the meeting he had with security chiefs this week. And we're beginning to see great results as far as security is concerned.
Well, the results will manifest when we hear less of kidnappings, especially within the suburbs of Abuja. It will also manifest. Although yesterday we got some cheering news of breakthroughs and rescue, of kidnapped victims. So we keep hope rising that
in the coming days, it will get much better.
Things will get much quieter in that area.
Okay, another issue that Nigerians are keenly paying attention to is the 60% reduction in the number of officials accompanying the president and other senior government officials to local and foreign trips. The gains and sustenance of this policy are also being keenly watched.
All right, indeed, keenly watched. Now, remember President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's trips abroad, of course, laid bare prospects in Nigeria's $10 billion steel sector. And that also raises the Ajaokuta matter. And should I also recall, or maybe, I don't really want to call it a jinx or a series of miscalculations, but however, however way you want to, call it, Nigeria's steel sector is a priority area of this government, of this administration, and that will fundamentally change, or shape the performance of, the administration in 2024. Now, other economic decisions, that might reduce fuel costs, reforms in the foreign exchange market, and of course, collapsing, the market's efforts to address inflation, also very, very key points that will determine the ratings of the current administration, at least at the end, or by the end of the first term.
Of course, and we'll discuss President Tinubu's key priorities in 2024. That's our main focus this morning. Of course, the first part of our conversation, and would also dwell briefly on the agenda for the new president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. It's a beautiful one because we have a woman heading that association, and Claire's excited. I am too. So she's the first, as I mentioned, and of course all of that will be coming up on Good Morning Nigeria today. I'm Ian Ray John. I welcome you to Friday's edition of the program.
All right, so let me start before Ian Ray takes it from me. Thank God it's Friday, and we welcome you. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Dazai. We will be also we're transmitting live from our studios here in Abuja, and the complementary segments of the program, as usual, on cue. We'll begin presently with highlights of the morning news. Ogochukwu on our case here. I'm sorry, Ogochukwu.
Well, she's been on leave for a while, so maybe that's why.
You don't have to blame me. It's one of those things in the mornings on Fridays, when you have to get up. Anyway, let's get on with the news. I got to quick on that.
Yes, thank you very much, Iri and Claire. Thank you for learning how to call my name. Maybe subsequently it will be better. Yes, you are pardoned. All right, President Bola Tinubu has once again assured Nigerians that his administration is working on measures to transform the social life and economic fortune of the country. This was the assurance he gave leaders and members of the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria who paid him a courtesy visit at the State House. The president, during the Federal Executive Council meeting on Wednesday, had directed speedy conclusion of assignments by various committees instituted to recommend solutions on how to ease cost of living and doing business in the country. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima says a small-scale farmer is the key to economic emancipation and development of the African continent. During a World Economic Forum panel in Davos, the Vice President pointed out that sustainable agricultural practices focused on smallholder farmers can help produce more food while caring for the land.
Thought of a time capsule. 100 years ago, our forefathers were using horse and cutlasses to eke out a meager existence. Now we have to embrace modern agricultural practices, regenerative agricultural practices, fertilization. The whole mantra is on increase in yield, so that Africa will be in a position to feed itself and add value to the world.
Now, traders in Karimu markets are counting losses after a midnight fire outbreak which razed more than 150 shops. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. The Fulani socio-cultural group Mieti Allah Culto Hore has inaugurated a nomadic vigilante security outfit made up of 1,144 youths to complement security agencies in tackling insecurity in Nasarawa State. And now the Kebbi State government has set up machinery into motion to fulfill its agricultural pact with the federal government by distributing 6,000 solar-powered water pumping machines, power tillers, and other farming implements to dry seasoned farmers. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, flagged off the distribution in Suru, local government area of Kebbi State. Now, the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunjiojo, has committed to efficient service delivery in all services of the ministry and easy access to all such services by citizens across the country. This was while playing host to His Royal Highness Oba Mufutao Mohammed Gbadamosi Ajabade, the Olofa of Ofa, and His Royal Highness Oba Sharafa Deniyi Buhari and Onijagbo of Ijagbo, who were on courtesy visits to the minister in Abuja. In a statement, the minister assured the monarchs that Ofa is very important to the government and passport administration, hence the passport office domiciled in the community. He, however, disclosed that the federal government plans to decentralize passport issuance so that Nigerians can easily obtain the vital travel document. And those are the news highlights for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with ERA and Claire after the break.
Welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. Up next is business news.
The value and volume of Nigerians' exportable products continue to grow exponentially, with a notable growth of 28.04% of manufactured, semi-processed, solid minerals to agricultural commodities exported to 124 countries in 2023.
The top commodities in terms of total exported products were urea, fertilizer, which accounted for 20.10%, while cocoa beans came second at 13.19%. Sesame seed took the third position at 9.03%.
This trajectory is what the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, is working to sustain under its new mantra of Operation Double Your Export.
We came up with what we call the Export 35 redefined, right from the farm gate through the value chain to market access.
Apart from creating market access for Nigerian non-oil exportable products, the NEPC is also championing the cause of repatriating export proceeds to enhance foreign exchange earnings and inflow into Nigeria towards stabilizing the Naira. With business news, Comfort and Modu.
All right, that was Comfort Amojo giving us the business news update. Let's move on to newspaper review, and that'll be coming up presently.
We got a newspaper reviewer here, Chukudi Okoli Ubaja. Good morning. Good to see you.
Lady. How are you doing? Good morning.
Very well.
Claire, I said I'm going to celebrate this Friday because I want to lay and just rest. TGIF, how are you doing?
Well, you can
Oh,
see.
wait a minute. I thought Abdul Razak is a choir man. Is this not something good for our brothers and sisters in Benue?
Proudly Nigerian.
I like that.
Proudly Nigerian.
That's it.
And I'm even more.
I like that. Proudly Nigeria.
Yes.
Let's stop segregating.
And
That's
I'm,
a good
I'm
one.
even more proud or prouder, whichever way English wanted. Yes. Because of what happened yesterday, I was a bit apprehensive, given our opponents.
Yes.
That's
That's a good one.
So that was quite.
Yes, it was good news for us. When Captain William Truster Ekong, struck home after Osimhen was impeded in the box, I was happy because that game yesterday was rather a tricky business. You didn't really know where it was going. Ernesto Konko will talk about the Dig Dong affair. God rest his soul. Ernest.
I mean, you could see the elephants.
Yes.
And then you could see the eagles.
Yeah.
And
it's not just they're being hosts. The fact that they have a good traditional, they have traditional good football
playing pattern.
Exactly. Ivory Coast. Remember what Didier Drogba was doing to us in and out. I mean, I felt so bad.
I was quite apprehensive when they said we were going to change our 4-3-3 playing pattern.
Yes.
To 5-4-3. Is it 5-4-3? 5-4-3.
Yes. You felt you don't change the pattern.
The winning pattern.
On the field of campaign.
Okay, all right. So we're happy with the Super Eagles. Even though
happy.
the performance was not super.
Yeah.
It wasn't super.
We are not out of the woods yet,
Yes,
though,
it
because
wasn't super.
it's 4-4, Equatorial Guinea 4, Nigeria 4 points. And the
And
other...
the first game, the Super Eagles is winning after
that's
4
it.
matches.
Yes.
All right, let's quickly. We have just 2 papers this morning, and Leadership Friday has a bold caption on the governorship appeals, and it reads, "It's Judgment Day for Sule." That's in Nasarawa, Fubara in Rivers, and Oborevori in Edo State.
Is there something about Friday and Judgment Day?
No,
I remember last Friday was also Judgment Day for some states.
Well, I really don't know.
Just leave the men in the honorable wig to decide their schedule. Go on with your job.
I don't think so. I think it's a matter of convenience.
Yeah.
Yes,
There must be a reason. There must be a reason.
Yes, and when the documents or papers, have been finally compiled and ready,
Do you know I'm a bit relieved. They are practically rushing to get all these cases decided because I had to do a fast one just before the appeal court, the appeals court, because the traditional blocking happened again, and a congestion grew between the appeals court and the secretariat.
This morning?
I had to. Of course, yes. That's what happens. So anytime that there's a governorship and cases are being decided.
Just the riders to that story. Supreme Court is deciding. I mean, Rivers, Edo, and Nasarawa are not the only states. There's also Delta, Gombe, Ogun, and Taraba. And the Labour is threatening mass protest over insecurity. It's also trending on the front page of Leadership. And African Super Eagles bounce back, beat Côte d'Ivoire 1-0.
I am still contending that it is not very good that people expect the Super Eagles to do better when they don't start well. I can't understand that logic. Early to bed.
Well,
but the field of play, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Sometimes it's not even the most prepared team that gets the win.
Football has become really predictable. It's a gold mine, and even the smallest nations are now becoming the big players.
You know what someone said?
Because what you need is 22 players anyway.
Someone said on social media, "Oh my God!" and they are wearing this jinxed white jersey.
Who jinxed it? Who jinxed it?
Honestly, I have the same feeling. Honestly, when we go out in our green, spotted green and white,
yes,
it tends to motivate. There's this energy, there's this zeal, there's this feeling that it brings. I don't know, but that's how
it's what happens. Those vagaries would happen when free association of colors.
We have pilots. Let's quickly look at pilots.
It's not about the jersey, actually.
It's not the jersey, my dear.
It's about
all those supernatural concoctions and the
I don't like it when both of you dismiss.
I don't believe it.
I don't like it when both of you dismiss what you don't understand.
Oh,
these are
metaphysical.
Yes.
She read philosophy.
Okay, let's leave the realm and come to the realm of our physical papers right here. The pilots is next, the Nigerian pilots, and the lead story here says EFCC chairman laments. And then if the EFCC chairman is lamenting, the question will be, what will be the reaction of other Nigerians?
I don't like that word lament when I see it in our newspapers.
Okay, maybe you would understand what the EFCC chairman is saying with the riders. He says, queries for gratification, quest for bribe by EFCC investigators embarrassing. Cautions perpetrators to discontinue such immoral acts or face severe sanctions. Urges Commission staff to be steadfast, committed to current core to fight corruption, and declares that no government agency is as crucial to Nigeria's quest for growth as the EFCC. All right, away from that story, of course, what's on all the papers this morning is the court judgment that would be delivered today. And the Nigerian pilot puts it this way: tension as Supreme Court delivers judgment on Nasarawa. Yes. Now the question is, why single out Nasarawa out of the 6 states that are up for verdicts today? All right. Finally, this morning from the Nigerian pilot, we have House of Reps orders Health Ministry to refund 10 billion naira. That's the much you can take. Some of the headlines are on the front page, but of course you can pick up a copy to read up all of that.
Quickly, two things. Bodija explosions, they've picked up 2 more bodies, bringing the number to about 5. And then the House of Reps is saying that they have to probe what happened there. How can you tell me that illegal miners topped up such amount of explosives to become a headache, a nuisance to a community, you know? But interestingly, Zamfara governor is saying that traditional rulers will no longer be allowed to grant letters of consent to potential miners, you know, prospective miners there. And I say, were they given those letters?
You know, it's part of the...
Which part of the Constitution?
It's part of the items in the law.
Yes.
I believe that government wants to review.
Yes.
Because I read somewhere yesterday that, you know...
I don't dismiss the fact that the community must have a say in who comes to mine there. It's just like you want to sell your land. Government, you don't pay to government. They tell you, first of all, go to the landowner, see the district head, see the, you know, on and on like that. Eventually you settle the government, which has the prerogative of a land. So I think that is what is happening there. But what I suspect is that traditional rulers could just be giving consent letters, and without resort to the government side, these miners will go there. That's not going to help you check safety properly.
So just before
I
we let you go for the weekend,
yes.
We just want to we were commending at least the good news, you know, coming in from yesterday from the security angles. Some rescue, you know, efforts were made.
Yes.
Some kidnapped victims were rescued. This is the kind of, you know, story we want to be really putting out,
yes.
You know, and not giving the other, you know, parties you know, the upper hand.
Yeah.
So when our security agencies, you know, succeed in rescuing this, I think we should, you know...
I think it was military president, you know, Ibrahim Babangida, who said at a point, look, gentlemen, as the army, we are managers of violence. He had to say that to tell some people, look, ultimately, government has the final say in terms of
security.
So you can't outgun us. Nobody is boasting.
By the way, did you notice the trucks at your axis?
I saw the military barrack, the resettlement, what is it called now? I saw...
is it along Kaushi?
Yes.
Which area?
Shortly after Kurudu. You could see that there were some men in, you know, military fatigue and all that.
That's around corridor access.
Yes, so
okay.
I'm going to find out more. I hope nothing happened. I hope it's preemptive.
I think it's just no more routine check,
yes.
You know, just so that they could send a strong warning to
the sight of a policeman deters the criminal.
Very
so
that's... No, but you know, yesterday, just last few seconds, the minister of the FCT held a meeting with the security teams.
Yes.
So that could also be an, you know, outcome of...
No, one thing I can tell you, you can say all you want to say about Wiki, you know. When it comes to action, I doff my hat for Wiki and El Rufai. I believe in them when it comes to that. So these people are going to get... But please, let's not forget that it's actually police that do the job. So let's not forget to give them commendation.
All right, we commend you, Chukwudi, for you know, great work you've done this week. We hope to see you next week. So that's the end of the paper.
Double commendation. And Chukwudi is shot out of the studio.
So you don't appreciate the work Chukwudi does on the program.
So
Chukwudi, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Don't be ambiguous. You need to qualify the work. Is it the newspaper review? Have a good weekend.
All right, we'll take a break now. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. To kickstart our first conversation this morning, let's take this background report put together by Abdulsalam Jibril.
It has been over 7 months since the 16th president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, assumed office and began the journey to rebuild the country's economy. Recall that Nigeria's public debts, both local and foreign, coupled with an unsustainable fuel subsidy regime, created a gaping hole in public finance and rendered government incapable of meeting some of the aspirations of Nigerians. The bold decision to remove the fuel subsidy, some experts maintain, was crucial to avert a national economic catastrophe of epic proportions. They, however, note that this brought momentary discomfort to many Nigerians. Nonetheless, the government rolled out intervention programs to help cushion the impact, such as working out a minimum wage and salary increase, 35,000 wage award to employees of the federal government, supporting states and local governments to enable them cater for the most vulnerable, and providing fertilizers to farmers, among others. In his 100 days in office, a tax and fiscal reforms committee was set up, aimed at repositioning the economy for long-term sustainability. Already, the ongoing inquest into the activities of the Apex Bank and the suspension of some officials of the administration, some analysts say, shows the president's intent on pursuing a holistic corruption crusade. The 60% cut in travel delegation, which is part of efforts to reduce the cost of governance, have been applauded by many Nigerians home and abroad. Still, development is a sector the administration is paying close attention to. The president recently emphasized that a revitalized steel development industry is a doorway to immense opportunities for Nigerians' massive pool of talented entrepreneurs. It is almost a month into the new year, and some Nigerians have begun harping on deteriorating security, oil theft, and foreign exchange rates, among others. What other priority areas should the administration focus on in the course of the year? This will form the focus on the program shortly.
That was Abdul Salam Jibril giving us the background report to commence our conversation. Let me begin with introductions. Dr. Uche Diala is the APC chieftain and president, Foundation Against Fraud, Indiscipline and Corruption, and he joins us live in the studio for the first time. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Dr. Diala, for joining us.
Thank you.
And compliment of the season.
I wish you the same. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you. And we have here with us Chief Okoye Obonobla. He's a familiar face. He's not been here for a while now, though. Former presidential aide, lawyer, public affairs analyst, and in addition, is an APC chieftain. Chief Obonobla, thank you very much once again, and good to see you.
Nice to see you again. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
All right, also joining us for the conversation all the way from Lagos is Aliyu Audu, Special Assistant to the President in Public Affairs. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, let's begin with you, Aliyu. Of course, given your position as Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, we don't have to, recall the priority areas, the key priority areas. We already know security, of course, agriculture, job creation, poverty reduction, human capital development, and all that. And to go with that, the President, instructed the respective leads of the MDAs and agencies, to send in monthly performance, evaluations of progress. I'd just like to begin with you. What is your own, performance evaluation in the security area so far?
All right, good morning. It is still little early to examine the MDAs, the performance of the MDAs so far, but one thing we can, pick from the action and body language of Mr. President is it shows that, the current administration is aware of the economic challenges, the current realities, and the need for urgent measures and change in the way we've always approached things as a government or as a people, as a nation. And President is taking the lead role in that. If we remember clearly, unusually, he came in on the president came in on the 1st of January to sign the budget into law, which is a sign that he knows the very essence of being timely and sticking to time and ensuring that he demonstrate to his cabinet and every other person in the government and the public that the year 2024 should be an opportunity for every one of us to give ourselves, as a nation, a chance at succeeding and being the prosperous, peaceful and united nation that we know we can be. And he swiftly followed up with, reduction in cost of travel for local and international trips for himself, vice president, and the wives of the president and the vice president. Then instructed the ministers to reduce their entourage too for local and international trips. Of course, this is in reaction to, the comment from the public over the size of government. In the face of economic realities which Nigerians have had to, embrace or brace themselves up to. It is very encouraging to know that the president is leading by example, and he stand on the suspension of Minister for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. It's another indication that it is not business as usual, and that there are no sacred cows in his government, and the right thing will be done, and the invitation of one of the indicted 7 ministers, and the clear directives to the agencies that are in charge of investigation, whom he has given his full authority to ensure thorough investigation and let the law take its course. He equally looked in some other area of the deployment of our troops, our security agency during his local trips. Usually you have hundreds of policemen, officers being moved from Abuja to other states that are, when the president visits, you find out that, the president has instructed that, the resources, security resources in each of these states should be put to use instead of having to move, personnel from Abuja. For many ways that this benefits, the country. One of them is that, of course, there's definitely a reduction in cost of doing that. Then it now means that police security agencies in each of these states are now performing at a level that they are able to be trusted to protect the president. By extension, when the president isn't longer there, we still expect them to perform at that optimal level for the good of the community, which they were designed to do. It isn't always about having special protection for people in government when people in different cities do not enjoy similar protection. You find out that we have like a special unit that are always moved around to provide intels and provide cover for whenever. But when we have the entire system, being put on their toes, being equipped, being supported to be able to provide such security services at the highest level considered good enough for president, then it is the implication, the good side of that is, even when the president isn't in these states, these guys are able to perform at the level, at that same level that every citizen expect, and provide the same protection and cover for every single citizen of the country, which in the long run will increase the readiness and of the personnel, increase information sharing between the central security unit and all of the other units across the country, and it can only mean well for the entire nation.
I'll do for your opening comments there. Of course, it's quite impressive, and some Nigerians, happy about the fact that the president is, leading by example, like he said, cutting down, and all of that. But, one of the main issues with development in this country is actually corruption, really, and it's a systemic issue. Dr. Uche Diala, I'm talking to you now because you're the president Foundation Against Fraud, Indiscipline and Corruption. We know that's like the main problem. That's why MDAs do not perform. It goes beyond trying to cut down on all of that, but we know that these ministries, departments, agencies, and different sectors find a way to just cheat the country and its populace. We've seen what has happened with the humanitarian ministry, and of course there'll be many more revelations. But do you think that that issue of corruption can be really handled by this administration, considering how deep it has eaten into the fabric of our nation?
Okay, thank you. First of all, you are spot on. Corruption is a major issue in Nigeria, and it transcends this administration.
And just to quickly add, this morning the chairman of the EFCC is even lamenting himself, and saying that even the investigators in the EFCC are now a part of the corruption process.
Absolutely, and it's such a big problem that, well, first of all, I commend the president. Look, it's important that you show good example, that you lead by example, that you signpost that you are not ready to accept certain things. One of the things that bothered me when the issue of the suspended minister came up was the fact that there was an existing guideline, and even when the memo was written to the accountant general, she actually said, no, you can't do that. I reminded them of what the guideline said, and they still went on. So you see, in the work we do, even in our conversations in the progressive think tank, we've looked at all this. The approach to corruption, beyond what the president is doing now, has to be holistic. Essentially, two broad things that we need to do. The two broad things is, one, prevention, and then punishment. And in prevention, we have more work to do in prevention than in punishment. In prevention, look, corruption is an entire industry in Nigeria. Look, it's not just in government, it's also in the private sector, right? Now, the mindset of the average Nigerian is corrupt. I said once that the average Nigerian is inherently corrupt. A former Senator Atana Chono from Imo State once said that he's not afraid about the corruption happening by people in position of authority. He's afraid of the multitude waiting outside for their own opportunity to
milk the nation.
Yes. So now, what the president and all of us indeed need to do, first of all, we need to begin to change the mindset of Nigerians, and that's why for a long time we've been calling on the National Electoral Agency to sit up. If you look at the social media, if you look at the communities, you find out that the average Nigerian, 15, 16, younger than that. There was a young boy, 7 years in Kaduna, somewhere in the north, that was arrested for fraud, right? So first of all, because when you talk about prevention, there are people already in the system, but there are many who are outside the system, who are looking at what is going on. So we need to find a way, some kind of multi-sectoral approach to change the mindset of Nigerians towards corruption, towards living right, towards contentment, right? Now, that is basic, and then in doing that, you want all these agencies to be involved, the media, you want the CSOs, you want the community leaders to be involved. That's one. We need to change the mindset. And secondly, punishment. For crying out loud, there needs to be real judicial service. I'm happy that Fobla is here. Real judicial service reform. See, people actually go into government or public office with the mindset that, okay, so they will still enough to prepare for the trouble that will come. Okay, so I don't want to go too far. These two things, because what you mentioned about what the EFCC, I'm glad he said that, because we need to also begin to speak the truth. The truth is that there's corruption in the government, there's corruption in the civil service,
and there's corruption in the EFCC.
He said so. We didn't say that.
Diala, thank you. Let's bring in Chief Obonobla, and we've heard this saying. We heard it, frequently during the middle past administration. When you fight corruption, corruption fights you. And we did see that happening, and it will not stop because those behind.
I was a victim.
You see, so because those behind, these fraudulent activities, we're not just talking about ordinary civil servants. We're talking about very powerful, people and all that. Now we've seen President Tinubu, take some actions, like the SA said, the constitution of an investigative committee to investigate, particular ministry and indeed the CBN, and I'm just wondering, might there be any other strategy that he could apply? And some people are even saying, look, a strategy that would really deal with corruption, issues, even at a very critical NDAs. I don't want to mention those NDAs. Yes.
Yeah. I was telling you that I was a victim of corruption fighting back. I was the chairman of a presidential panel of investigation, to recover public property. And they told me, look, this is a large dish effort to address the issue of corruption. And I went all out, but the challenges I had, firstly for the National Assembly, because for the first time, senators were being investigated. I was investigating assets of senators, abroad. Well, some of them have been mentioned in the Panama Papers. You remember? Yes. And so they were not happy with me at all. For the first time, somebody was making members of the National Assembly to be accountable. And then also former Senate President, who was mentioned in the Panama Papers, a former military governor, and former military minister. He has so much abroad, offshore, islands. And since my panel didn't have the structure, I collaborated and partnered with National Intelligence Agency of Nigeria. And I said, look, I want to investigate. This man has been alleged to have so much, over 300 million pounds property in some offshore islands. What do we do? It's okay, well, let us partner. I don't have the structure. And then we did. And we came out with a report, and the man was indicted, and I sent the report to the former president, the attorney general, but nothing happened. So the backlash.
Maintain this, sir. I'd like you to give us an insight into the kind of issues you had to contend with, investigating.
Yeah, the National Assembly,
at the National Assembly
fought me. They said they were investigating me. At my academic qualifications. That's what they said. What has my job got to do with my academic qualifications? I'm a lawyer of almost 30-something years, and so they were investigating me, and they went ahead, came out a report, a jaundice report, indicting me and all that. So there was so much pressure on the president, and I was suspended innocently. Everything they alleged against me was proven, wrong, fabricated, spurious.
So this is will this then be a familiar terrain for President Tinubu?
Yeah, so I will urge the president to protect those who have been entrusted with the responsibility of fighting corruption. Nobody wants to be investigated. So as soon as you start investigating people, they begin to hate you. They begin to get back at you. Because if you do not protect those who have been given that very, very difficult work of fighting corruption, there shall come a time when nobody will be ready to step out. Look, I want to help government to address this issue, which is a major problem. Let me tell you. Let me give you an example.
You've talked about protection.
Yes. Yeah.
Now let us look at mechanism. Apart from constituting, panels, investigative panels, and all that, what other, strategies?
I like what Dr. Dara said. We have been collaborating a lot, and he said orientation, reorientation. A lot of Nigerians have this corrupt mindset. For instance, if you are given an appointment in government, all your villagers will celebrate you. People from your state will celebrate you. They are not celebrating you because they want you to go and serve this country or your state or local government. They are celebrating you because they are expecting that at the end of your office,
you make returns back
money. I had issues with my relatives. They told me, and some of them were not talking to me when I lost my job, that, oh, you were given a very powerful job, you were given the opportunity to enrich yourself, and you did not empower us. What do they mean by empowering us? Giving them money, doling out money, buying cars for them, buying vehicles for them. At end of the year, during Ramadan period, after the end of Ramadan, Christmas, periods, our senators, our public office holders, they distribute money, cars, and so forth and so on to members of their senatorial district, constituents, and the people. And nobody bothers to ask, where is this money coming from? That is why they have this mindset that if you are in Abuja, you have hit the gold mine, because Abuja is flowing with milk and honey and
pick
money.
it from the streets.
Yes. So that is the mindset of Nigerians, and that is what we have to, change. This attitude that government is all about making money to helping yourself and helping your people, to the extent that if you do not do that, you are ostracized at the end of your office. You are ostracized in your community.
But away from the people, actually, again, this, if you like, greed on the part of a lot of Nigerians, or maybe it's across the world, really. But a lot of Nigerians is shocking, or if you like, it's worrisome, because a situation where someone gets a lot of money, whether fraudulently or whichever ways, and just decides to keep it in a house or maybe somewhere and locks it up there, or digs the ground and buries it, or put it in a tank or something, and then you wonder, the money is for what? Because I mean, during during the Emefiele change of naira notes, changing of the color of the naira notes, we saw the kind of naira notes that were dug out from different places. I mean, it's quite shocking, and we really hope that we could change our mindset about not just enriching our people, but sometimes we want to save for our generations yet unborn, which I mean is not a way to go. Because but let's look away from corruption now, because there are actually very many priorities, and because of time we need to touch on some of those priorities. And I would like to get to Aliyu Audu now in Lagos. Of course, corruption, we've talked about it, and we hope that the conversation continues, and then we can be able to hit the nail on the head as far as that is concerned. But let's talk about security, because at the moment it is front burner, and during the President's New Year message, he gave us renewed hope that security would be tightened. We're going to up our game in that wise, just so that we can be able to feel the impact of government. From what has been happening so far, and looking at the fact that in this budget for this year, security takes the largest chunk, 12%, about 3.25 trillion naira. Would you say that this government, this administration, will be able to do something different? I'm asking because, of course, security has always taken the largest chunk in our budgets, in recent past, but the impact hasn't been so much. So what do you think would be different this time around, considering the recent developments, of course, kidnappings here and there, although, like we did say this morning, we'll begin to see, well, some kind of show of force. Will it be sustained, and what should Nigerians expect?
Sustain, and I mean, the fact that I mean, we've come to not believe or trust that when government, when presidents, when presidents make declaration, when they give their words, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, it never materialized, and it's quite disappointing. And but the very reason many of us stuck our neck out for the current president is the fact that he's someone who is in touch with reality. He's someone who is very pragmatic, and he's someone who has an all-round grasp of governance. In the past, I would admit that previous governments have attempted to resolve security issue by using military approach only. We have seen that it hasn't worked, and there is need for change of tactics, and the president has looked at all the other issues, all the other angles. I mean, we have employment issues, we have wealth creation issue, we have I mean, like my brother Dr. Uche Diala said, orientation issue. we all of this, comes to, there is no single unit of our national life that is working efficiently and effectively, and it comes down to one thing: the understanding of what it is to be a citizen and understanding what it is to be in government. Like Chief Obla said, I'm sure for many of us who have been appointed and those who have been in offices before now will clearly agree with what he said. Everybody has come to the sense that the moment you get into public office, it is for you to amass as much as you can to prevent yourself or shield yourself from the challenges that the society brings, when the very essence of being in government is to provide solution and extend this solution to every single man on the street. Security comes from lack of jobs. Security comes from misappropriation. Security comes from insecurity. Comes from people just watching people in position waste and keep away resources that are meant for common man use, that are meant for the development of our country, for people to be able to earn a legitimate living. Until we have a holistic approach to addressing all of this, the steps being taken. In the steps that were taken in the last 8 years, we saw a lot of improvement in terms of, hostility, in terms of, insecurities, from regional insecurities that we've experienced, especially from the Northeast. However, there is something bigger that needs to be done, which is having a man in charge who understands what it is to give an assignment to a set of people and follow up, get reports, encourage those who are doing well, sanction those who are not, and in any case, remove people who are not pulling their weight. It's been way too long that we've had people put in position and pay lip service to national issues, especially when it comes to security. The most important thing I am confident that Mr. President will do is that he will spare no one, he will spare no rod, and he will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the country is secured. He's just signed it over 28 budget, trillion naira budget, a budget he is expecting to get funded from the activities of the economy, from growing the economy. If the economy does not, take off, if the, economy is easily, stifled by insecurity, by corruption, by all of this. Most importantly, insecurity. Farmers can't go to work if they are insecure. Market people cannot go to market. There won't be production if there are insecurity. He knows this well, and he knows he will have to address it. We are asking for foreign investors to come into the country. What country are we asking them to come into? This calls for like a national behavioral change, not just on security matter, on saying that we have to move from where we are. It's clear that we have a man who isn't there because he wants to just be powerful, who isn't there because he wants money. He is there because he has always believed that we as a people can be better than we are, like the average Nigerian believes. He's leading by example, and he's going to put pressure on every head of all of the security agencies to ensure that they do their part. On the other side, the people, I would say, it is pretty challenging right now to go by, or to earn a living. But the only option we have is to look at what we've been doing wrongly, what we need to do wrongly, areas we need to collaborate with the government. We need to give our collective selves a chance to succeed. And the only way to do this, bring information. You're an individual in private sector, in public sector, in security outfit. We have one goal: ensure we secure this country and ensure we have a united, peaceful, and prosperous Nigeria where every one of us will feel proud of. And that is exactly the kind of country that Mr. President is prepared to lead. And we clearly know what he did when he was in Lagos as a governor. We do not expect anything less, and he hasn't shown any sign of performing any less. So it is now for the people, whether in offices, whether out there, to see what role we need to play to ensure that we are secured. It is not for Mr. President to succeed. No, it is for us as a people to succeed. And it's encouraging that we have someone who is on top of his game, who is aware of what is going on, assign, give responsibility, manage responsibility, then ensure that you get feedback and get a report on the performance of these people you have given responsibility to, and hold them account for what they've been asked to do. And if we do this and commit to doing all of this, the problems are not, and they're not beyond us. We can't fix our security issues. At least reduce them to the barest minimal. I mean, it's one thing.
Aliu, thank you. Aliu, thank you. I think few people have any doubt about the, capacity and capability of Mr. President to match his words with action. What we really, want to discuss at the moment, probably, strategies that could aid the president, of course, in achieving some of the objectives and indicators in these key priority areas. And like you said, security now has a wide range of senses and interpretations. So, and one area, of course, is not just the absence of, war, but of course, where you have the freedom to be able to, purchase what you want, freedom to be able to eat, freedom, from hunger, freedom from, poverty. These are all, forms of, different senses of security. And that's why if we are to grow our economy according to the parameters of the budget to 3.7 percent, then the president must be very strategic in dealing with the issue of corruption. It was a fundamental, burden for former president. And that is why, like my colleague said, if the EFCC boss himself has come out to, raise concern about its own agency, he's not alone. He's not been alone. A lot of people have also pointed fingers at some of these, anti-graft agencies themselves. And I'm sure you must have heard of that. The loots are being looted again. So, questioning, the integrity of some of these things. Do you think that what can the president do such that the seemingly, impact that we're seeing now in the area of corruption doesn't appear like smoke screen?
Yes. Punishment is also very important in as much as preventive measures are paramount in fighting corruption, because corruption is intertwined with even issues of security. What is fueling insecurity is money laundering. Nigeria is a hub, a regional hub for money laundering, and it is believed that every year more than 500 billion naira is, or dollars is laundered in the West African sub-region, and Nigeria is the center. So the people who are, aiding and abetting terrorism, they are passing money around. Where is the money coming from? Those who are into human trafficking, they are also passing money around. What of the arms trafficking, which is also very, very paramount. People have been talking about Libya, that Libya was destabilized, and Libya army used to be one of the biggest in Africa, well equipped. So after, Gaddafi left office, or was left in office as Libya head of state, all those arms came to the Saharan region. And what is fueling these harms is money laundering. So everything is centered on corruption. So if we don't address issues of money laundering, we will never address the issues of insecurity. The banditry, the bandits, they also make a lot of money. A lot of money is passing around. So let us look at our financial institutions. The banks are not helping government. They are not complying with the money laundering policy and regulation of government. Otherwise, why will the minister order or direct transfer of 585 million naira to a private account, and without the bank raising an alarm, flagging as required of them by the law, calling Nigerian Financial Intelligence Agency? Somebody has transferred 500 and something million naira to an account that receives maybe averagely 200,000 naira a month. So these are all the institutional weaknesses that are responsible for what we are seeing. So the president should ensure that all our institutions, like the anti-corruption, bank, non-financial institutions, are strengthened, that those who have been given responsibilities and they don't do them should be punished. Also, the ministers, they must have a orientation, a new orientation. The orientation that as a minister, you do not have the right to write a letter to the accountant general to transfer money to a private account when the law says, the federal government financial regulation says a minister should not do that, that no officer of government should transfer money from a public account to a private account, and no private money should be passed, to a federal government account. That any officer that directs transfer of money from a public account to a private account has fraudulent intent.
Okay. All right. Many thanks, Chief Bono Obla. This corruption issue is really a big issue, and another big issue that has been affected by corruption will be the Ajaokuta Steel Company. We know this. We know the history. It's a long history, and some people have said the Ajaokuta Steel Complex. The story is like that of the Abiku. They have related it to it. Like you try to wake it up, it dies again. You wake it up, it dies again. And so much money is being spent. This administration came on board, and then of course they're still looking at that Ajaokuta Steel Complex and looking at how to revive it. And they're saying, well, Nigerians should be hopeful that before the end of this first term, something will come on board. In your own view, what would be the way forward? Because the steel industry is a very, very important industry as far as development is concerned in any nation. And if we can get that right, of course, a lot of things will go right in this country. Besides the job creation, having some of these finished products in this country will reduce the price. It would affect, so many sectors, and it's a great booster. In your own view, do you really think that this administration should consider, trying to revitalize, Ajaokuta, or probably look at other ways, to get our steel sector more vibrant?
I don't think there's any alternative to getting Ajaokuta working. Are we going to throw it away? It's a legacy project. It's a project that can transform our nation and our economy. But it's important to note that the last administration had an eye on that, but we know that there was an issue, that bordered also on corruption, contracts, some agreements in the past that stalled any efforts to. But I think that has been resolved now with the court judgment that was given recently. So what I think is important here is the political will. It is the political will, and I believe, and that is also where we all are positive, where what our renewed hope is hinged on, that this president understands business, he understands the politics, and he understands all the things that are needed to come into play to get things move forward. We can build on the foundations that have been laid in the last 8 years, and so if there's the political will, and I believe it is there, and that gives me hope. What we need to do is to take a look again at that steel mill and find out what the issues are. Then find out, for instance, like what was done with the refineries. There was a serious technical committee that went in to look at these things.
So you don't share the views of some Nigerians who think that trying to revitalize that complex might just be an effort in futility, considering the number of years it has stayed, being obsolete, and then in some sectors, when you try to refurbish, it's more expensive than starting afresh. Okay, so do you really think that, because so much money has gone down?
Yes.
So don't you think it would be another waste to consider, reviving the complex?
The same thing was said about the refineries for Port Harcourt. Some of these, this steel mill in Ajaokuta never really got working. I don't always believe that it is cheaper to build something new than to rebuild or even to complete something that has been done. There are some critical components of a system that when you get that sorted out, the rest will just be cleaned up. Because are we going to just throw away the massive investment, the massive structure that is the steel mill? We have not given that steel mill actually a chance to see the light of day. I believe that if we go into that steel mill and sort out all the issues and look at the technical issues, I believe that with the size of that steel mill, I believe that what we will put in to get it working may not be as much as what we do to build it. Because if you're building a new one, you're starting from the scratch. I strongly believe, to answer your question straightforward, that it is better for us to go and get Ajaokuta steel mill, complete it, and get it working, than to begin something new that will require, planning, that will require all kinds of structural design and all that. These have already been done, So I believe that it will be faster for us if we look at having resolved the key issues that have been bogging it down. That if they do a couple of things that needs to be done and get the necessary people, get the necessary investors, get the necessary partners who will actually add value to the place, that I believe that the steel mill will get working again.
Okay, Aliu, please, just give us an insight into what has happened between September 2023 and now. If you remember, Nigeria was at the G20 summit in New Delhi, and we know that there were, investment deals. Investment deals were struck, especially with China in the area of steel, in a partnership to revitalize our, steel sector. And I believe some investments worth over 30, maybe billion US dollars were struck. Can you just give us an insight into that? And also plans, by the Chinese company to also start a new steel plant in Nigeria. I'm sure you must have heard what Diala here talked about, prospects of starting up a new steel company while we still have Ajaokuta, yet to commence food operations.
All right. I mean, there's been a lot of development in that area. The Minister for Steel Development, Prince Shaibu Audu, and the Minister for Defense, His Excellency Badaru, were out of the country to visit in Guangzhou some Chinese companies and spoke with their chairman. And Luan Steel Company of China has indicated strong commitment, strong interest in investing as much as $10 billion in our steel industry in Ajaokuta, and real moves are expected to be seen soon. We are expecting at least 500,000 direct and indirect jobs to be created from that, and a massive take in the steel demands of the country and the region. And there is equally a plan to cite weapon manufacturing companies, industries in all around Ajaokuta there, that will take their input as from the output of the steel that is going to come up, creating opportunity for multi-talented Nigerians who can use products from the steel industry to create products, and of course for the different sectors. It's all positive as the steel revitalization is concerned. And if we are to go by the last brief Mr. President got from the Minister of Steel Development, then we are in the right direction. We are close to seeing eventually a real start of the Ajaokuta steel, especially the steel plant, the steel mill side of it kicking off within the next couple of months.
Thanks, Aliu Audu. Let's get to Chief Bunobla now. We've talked about corruption. We've talked about security, and just you heard Aliu talking about the steel sector. All of this basically, it's to reduce poverty. If you get security right, people can go about. Of course, they can take care of themselves. Poverty will be reduced. The steel sector is working. You get people employed. I mean, all of that. If corruption is reduced to the barest minimum, government agencies will perform better. People will be able to earn a livelihood and live better. But looking at poverty reduction and looking at the way the president has come out to talk about it, and of course the popular one, let the poor breathe. Do you really think that the poor will breathe? Let's look at 2024 now. The challenges, that are evident. Looking at where we're coming from last year, and then the present economic realities and everything. What what steps would you want, this administration to take, just so that it can actually match words with action in terms of letting the poor breathe in this country, specifically for this year?
Well, the poor, poverty put together is also fueling the insecurity we are talking about. It's also fueling corruption. So we have to address poverty. Nigeria is a large country. I remember India had a similar experience. When I was in secondary school, our teachers, most of them came from India, and one of them became hysterical when he was paid 25 naira or so as his monthly salary. The man went berserk because he said he has never seen that kind of money. That was India. And today India is coming out of poverty. India is being projected to be maybe the biggest economy, more than China in 50 years time or 40 years time. So if India has fought poverty, if China has also fought poverty, because in 1940, China was in a feudal level of production, and within 40 years, that they transformed from that feudal level of production to what the second biggest economy. We can do that in Nigeria by putting in place right policies, appointing competent, committed Nigerians, giving responsibilities of fighting poverty, not those who want to, use poverty as an instrument to enrich themselves. And then we should try as much as possible to decentralize poverty fighting. Humanitarian services. I see no reason why we should have a federal minister of humanitarian affairs in a federal system of government. We should decentralize it. Those responsibilities should be taken over by our local government councils, because they are the closest to the people. By the states are not doing much. The governors are not doing much, because there's not much pressure or opposition to our governors, like the president. If you can go on TV to say the president did this and that, but in most of our states you cannot even criticize the governor. You cannot. What are the local governments doing? The local governments have been captured by the state governments to the extent that even allocation to local government areas are taken over by state governments. We don't even see them at the grassroots level. So therefore, everybody is dependent on Abuja, even to do a road in my local government area in Cross-River State. People will be talking about Abuja. And if those roads are not done, they'll say, oh, President Tinubu. So the state governors have
even the governors themselves blame the president.
Exactly.
When a road is bad, they tell you it's a federal road.
Which is mischief by blaming the president. Most of the governors are doing nothing. Let the governors take this fight, against poverty alleviation to the grassroots level, because they are the closest to the people. The president doesn't see the people from in Abuja, see people in River State, in the remote or Opobo local government area of River State, or even in Yala local government area in my own state, or Mbise in Imo State. So the governor should, sit up and start working for the people, not just moving around and coming to Abuja. Some of them live in Abuja. Some of the governors live in Abuja. They are always very happy when they are in Abuja. They should go to their states and fight poverty by ensuring that they make budgets that will affect the people and the money trickles down to the people. We have been fighting, every year we budget money for water, so forth. If they have been doing that for the past 50 years. When I was a small boy, every year the government will put money in the budget for water. We are not seeing the water. Why? Our policies are not working because we don't have competent people, committed people who believe in Nigeria. So the president should look for those who believe in Nigeria at the state level, at the local government level, in the ministries, NDAs, and ensure that the people have a vision and they understand the direction it's going into.
All right, talking about the direction.
Sorry, I just okay. It's still on your question.
Yes, he is talking about the direction he's going to, and that's why he has brought the sign in, beforehand. If you don't perform, you'll be sacked. Do you think that will work?
Performance bond.
Yes. When anybody who crosses the line, he uses the sledgehammer on that person. Kick that person out of government. any person who doesn't share his vision, any minister that will use his company to go and do a contract in a sister ministry, when you are supposed, after appointment, you should divest your interest in any company so that there is no conflict of interest. So people like that should kick out of government. They don't have the president's vision. Okay. It must be those who understand President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his philosophy, his vision, and the direction he's going into. Okay. Those are the people you should work with.
Thank you. I like to. Okay, please go ahead, and then I'll take my question.
Add to the question on poverty, I think that we have not fully exploited the greatest resource we have, and that is one, our population, and then agriculture. So it's important going forward in this 2024 that we double down on agriculture, because agriculture is a mass employer of people. Agriculture is a sector that doesn't require your academic qualification. Is actually irrelevant, meaning that the person who didn't go to school can go into agriculture and make a lot of money. We should build on what we have achieved in the last couple of years, and of course weed off some of the negatives. You see, a lot of people went into agriculture in the last 8 years, and a lot of money was put into agriculture. It's a bit to also address the poverty problem, because what is poverty alleviation? If people are able to make some minimal, some basic amount of money, it's better the one they create themselves. You can't keep giving handouts. That's the problem. Why we're running into the problem of humanitarian affairs and money sharing. So we need to look at a lot of people. Money was spent, but the money didn't get to the real farmers.
All right, Dr. Diala, thank you. Let's begin, Aliyu, and probably a last question for you, Aliyu. And I'll take you back again to steel, the steel sector. And if you know, as you rightly know, there are a number of agencies under the steel sector. Some of them, you know, I don't know how functional or operational they are. And these are agencies that are very fundamental, you know, in, of course, growing, you know, our GDP, you know, to the parameter of 3.7 if, you know, priority attention is given to those sectors. What is government's agenda for these agencies under the steel ministry?
I mean, the agenda is simple. It is, we cannot create as much value as required to improve our economy if the production sector does not take off. And like your colleague rightly said, the importance of steel in modern development cannot be overemphasized. And it's same directive, same instructions, same expectation from agency, you know, not just the ministry itself, agency in the ministry to go back to the drawing board and look through our past years in this sector. Look at what have we done in the past that has not given us results? Look at how we've done them, what we've done, how we've done them, and seek new ways of doing things. During the ministerial retreat, Mr. President gave, you know, a very firm directive as to the era of saying this is how we do it, this is how it's to be done is gone. Every single occupant of an office should put, you know, into use their mental ability. There should be critical reasoning as to what you are expected to do, what you are doing, ask the why, the what, the when, the how. Let's actually be very result oriented, and let's be focused on processes. You know, I mean, I'd like to quickly, you know, relate it to something else. I mean, we are all happy about the victory the Super Eagles secured yesterday, but most people are not impressed with the process. Most people are not impressed with how they got it. You know, which brings us back to the environment we now have, where so much emphasis is laid on money without value. We need to de-emphasize the importance that's being paid to money and pay more attention to value creation. You know, money itself is nothing if it does not carry any value. Our currency loses value because it is a store. Currency is a store of value. What are our values, individually and collectively? What are the values of all of the agencies in the steel ministry? What are the values of all of the other agencies elsewhere? What Mr. President has done is for every administrator, every manager to put back into their agency, put back into the ministry value creation, because that is most importantly what is going to be required to bring the needed change in our economy. And it's simple. People who are committed, people who know the vision, people who understand what it takes, people who know people who understand what it takes, people who know
we have to leave it at that for now. I'm sure we'll be taking up each of these segments in the course of our conversations on Good Morning Nigeria, and as you say, we'll also be following developments within the NDAs and agencies. And I'd just like to appreciate you, Aliu Audu, Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria from Lagos. Let me also appreciate the guests right here in the studio, Chief Okoye Owenubla, former presidential aide lawyer, public affairs analyst, and APC secretary. Thank you, very much for joining us. And Dr. Uche Diala, we do appreciate you, and we look forward to having you more on our program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be presenting to you the newest NSC president.
All right, this is still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We will now turn our attention to the task ahead of the incoming president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. We have Engineer Margaret Oguntola right here with us this morning. Good to have you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. How does it feel being the latest president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers?
Well, let me first correct the impression of being the incoming president. I am the president now. I assumed office on 1st of January, as stipulated by Memorandum of Article and Association. It feels really good, but also exciting, but daunting.
All right. Talking about being daunting, I heard tomorrow is the investiture, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe that's why a lot of people just feel until the investiture before we begin to say, "Oh, president of the NSC."
That's the official ceremony, which is not compulsory.
But one question I would like to start with this morning is, I just hope you would do the women proud. I'm starting with it because of. You know what I'm talking about. So
anyway, let's look at congratulations.
Thank you.
First of all,
thank you.
And I know that you had mapped out your strategy.
Yes.
You were ready for this position.
Yes.
So and you know that a lot.
It's
required from you.
Yeah.
Nigerian women, not just Nigerian women across the globe, also look out to you. And why I'm beginning, this way is because of the low representation of women, especially in this construction subsector. We do not have as much women showing such capacity and tenacity as we have, male engineers. I don't know. Do you share this perspective?
No, I don't. Because we do have enough women.
Yeah, we're not visible. We don't. When we see constructions, when we go to construction sites, we don't see women who are building bridges, who are building roads, who are building, all those.
The reason is the number. There's a percentage of women who are in engineering, who are in construction. We do have a number of women, a lot of them really, and not just now, even way back. I can mention a few of them, and right now. We have the controller of works for the entire, I think the entire Southwest or Lagos is a woman, and she goes to sites building bridges and all of that. So we do have women. It's just that when the percentage of the ratio of men to women is that as low as it is, we might not be that visible. But again, we may not have been doing enough to be visible.
Exactly.
Being deliberately visible, which is one of the things that I plan to work on. Visibility of engineers and the engineering profession. And then, of course, we also encourage APWEN, which is the women wing, to be more visible.
The Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria.
And of course, encouraging more girls to go into courses that have to do with STEM.
With STEM, yes. Yes, we do a lot of that.
Just so
anyway, we do. APWEN has programs for mentoring young girls. We have collegiates and universities, just to mentor them, to encourage them. And as far back as about 5-6 years ago, the campaign was taken to even primary schools to encourage young girls into STEM.
So what are your...
And now we even think of STEAM, adding arts to the...
Before you even ask her plans, you talked about APWEN.
Yes.
And that takes me to what the Lagos State chairman, once said, I think, once said, and I mean, she boasted that, if President Tinubu were to give women engineers, the opportunity to revamp the ailing, moribund infrastructure, and she was specific to refineries, that in just 1 year, that female, engineers in Nigeria, will revamp the refinery, will bring the refinery back to life. Was she just merely speaking, or was that a statement of fact?
Well, to a large extent, I think it's possible. It is possible, but strategy is the thing. So the strategy that we have to use to actualize that is what we need now to put in place.
Okay.
And then I'm sure that given the right environment, the enabling environment, and the encouragement, and the involvement, full involvement of engineers. But you know that me here, I'm president of Nigerian Society of Engineers. So I'm not going to be talking too much about just women. So I'm talking about the engineers in general.
So what are your main priorities, your immediate priorities as the president of the NSC? And then what would you consider the most challenging that you would like to handle?
Well, my immediate strategic priorities, as I will call them, I have one strategic agenda, but 5 kind of focus areas.
Thematic areas.
Yes, and then 34 action points because of I'm the 34th president. So it's deliberate.
Yes.
So the first strategic priority is membership development. And under that, I'll be looking at developing our members. First, the membership growth, because we need to grow our membership now. We realize that we could have more than we have now as our members, and be able to also retain the interest in the society. And to do that, we plan to upskill our members and prepare them for better knowledge and to stay abreast of their profession, and all of that. We also plan to mentor. We want to do some kind of mentorship, deliberate mentorship program where we'll pair mentors with mentees. When you want to join the Nigerian Society of Engineers, we have this system of having older members propose the younger ones. So, but they just do it and they still follow up. And we do know that we need to mentor the younger ones so that they can take up the role after we leave. Then I'm also looking at intergovernmental industry and academia collaborations, to be able to want to engage government more, have roundtable discussions and dialogue with government to engage engineers more.
That's what where I was going, because that has been one area that indigenous engineers have always raised issues with, that they're not being mainstreamed in contracts that have big contracts and all that, but rather, such works are contracted out to foreign, engineers and all that. So I'm just wondering, because as you come in now, apart from your gender, and in fact your gender makes, projects you more. A lot of people will be wondering, what's the capacity? Yes, what's the capacity to be able to turn, this area around? So how do you want to tackle that apart from collaboration? Because past presidents have also attempted at engineering collaborations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the thing is this: sometimes, like we said when we started this discussion, I talked about strategy. So what we want to do now is to engage more. You know, this roundtable that I'm talking about will be engaging.
Okay, I'm sorry, Engineer Oguntala. Let's just keep you on hold and go to take our. No, go ahead.
All right, we have a correspondent right now at the Apex Court, you know, because there will be some judgments to be delivered today by the Supreme Court, and Dele Atumbi is right there. Dele, if you can hear me, what is the latest from your end at the Apex Court, and could you tell us the appeals that are up for adjudication today?
Hearing, and today the Apex Court will be delivering 14 judgments. That shows in 6 states the court would definitely be giving verdict on 14 appeals. And the appeals are coming from Nasarawa, Delta, Gombe, Kaduna, Kebbi, and Ogun states. I am aware that the court, going by the court list, the court would definitely commence its verdicts on the appeals coming from Nasarawa and Delta states, because the court hall is very congested, highly congested, in the sense that the influx of people to the court was so high, and the court has to decide to the fact that it would take 2 appeals in the first instance, that is Delta and Nasarawa state will be taken first, and after Nasarawa and Delta have been taken, others will definitely come on board. But beyond that, 2 states are states to watch out for, like the issue in Kano. You have to watch out for Kaduna and that of Nasarawa state. Would my lords use the what do you call it, the ratio descendee that they use in Kano to decide the issue in Nasarawa and Kaduna? Well, it depends on them. But when it comes to the issue of the ratio descendee of any decision of the court, it is the decision of the court, and it resides in the court. But any moment from now, the Justice Kekere Ekun led panel will be adjudicating over the first 2, which has to do with Delta and Nasarawa states.
Dele, I'm just wondering. You talked about the halls, you know, that are filled to capacity, and I'm wondering why is that? What's so special? And I mean, what makes this today's judgment, you know, special?
Talking about the influx of people to the court hall, it has to do with interest, and 6 states to be decided. The litigants will have supporters, and we are talking about 14 appeals to be decided on. There are vested interests on this matter, and they are here. The litigants will have supporters, and they want to listen to get first-hand information about the appeals that they either brought to court, or the respondent will equally have vested interest. So they are allowed to come into the court. And if one thing you can be rest assured of is this: the security here is very tight. It's very, very tight. That one I can say for free.
For the update, of course, we'll join you much later once the verdicts begin to come in. But like I mentioned earlier, it looks like Friday is always judgment day. Last week it was judgment day, and I would like to ask the judges much later the meeting point between judgment day and Friday, so we can prepare ahead. Okay, well, let's get back to you now. You know, I'm very excited, really, you know, about your position. You know, I just think that women have the capacity. But looking at the engineering profession, some people think that the capacity of engineers in this country is not really where it should be, considering the challenges that we're facing. Some think that maybe because of their capacity, that's why Like my colleague was trying to mention, that's why when big projects are to be, handled, we look for expert rates outside instead of using engineers in the country. What do you intend to do as regards, the capacity? What do you think that engineers can do to build capacity? And also, quackery. A lot of quacks here and there, fake engineers. What do you intend to do in that regard, just so that we can rely more on our own instead of going outside?
Thank you. Well, what I think we need to do, and what I plan to do with my team in terms of capacity, building capacity, and I'll come back to the engineers, the idea that engineers in Nigerian engineers don't have the capacity to handle jobs. What we plan to do is to train, retrain, and upskill our members so that they would be at par with they'll be able to compete favorably with their counterparts from all over the globe. And right now we have sent out a survey for a training needs assessment for our members, depending on the discipline, so that we can help them to grow their capacity in the profession.
What's the context of this help?
The content is that the context, yes, is to organize training for them.
At whose cost?
What we're planning to do right now, for instance, already we are talking to some industries and some other stakeholders to collaborate with us, because we do not have the funds for that, but we're already talking to some people, and I have one or two already who are going to collaborate with us to train our engineers in their respective fields, those depending on what their needs are. So that's the way we want to go about it.
At what level are you picking up, those to be mentored? Is it at the tertiary level, or at the level where they have become professional engineers? I don't know. At what level do you?
We plan to have for all levels,
or across
all the levels. Okay. Because for the young ones, we're planning to collaborate more with ITF. So that they can so that we can train them more. They can do their CWS, because in the past, in my own time, I had a total of 12 months industrial training, which prepared me, hands-on with practicals and all of that. So right now we don't have so many industries, but we're talking to some of them who can take these young students, on
after national service, because a lot of core members after national service don't get a place.
Yes, so
they go to the classroom.
Yes, they go
because there are no industries. There are no industries anymore. But right now, we already have a partner for training of 1,000 engineers, young engineers every year.
But besides industries, even our schools these days are beginning to fall short in terms of, materials to train, the students even in school. We hear of engineers in school talking about you being told the machine parts on a paper instead of...
That's the extent to which the educational sector has fallen. And it's not the fault of the engineers, that. It's government paying just deliberate attention to the educational system.
We just have 60 seconds. I know you've talked so much, but just give us a recap. You want to, the branding of, the engineering institution. Just give us key points of actionable points.
Okay, so one, we want to develop the capacity of our members. We want to help them to develop their capacity. We want to give value, a kind of value proposition for the membership of NSC. We want to collaborate more with government, industry, and academia, and kind of bridge the gap between the three helix, as we call it. Okay. And then we also are looking at rebranding the NSC. We want to be a force to be reckoned with. We want to be the voice of engineering and engineers, and that means improving the visibility of NSC.
All right, brilliant. The 34th president of the NSC, Engineer Margaret Oguntala, what will be your, we're about to round up the conversation. What will be your last words to engineers that are watching you this morning? What should they expect from you as their president?
Okay, so what to expect is this. In the next 2 years, we're going to spend time rebirthing the Nigerian Society of Engineers for the growth, empowerment, and advancement of engineering in Nigeria. And I want everybody to come on board and let's do this together.
All right.
All right. Congratulations once again. Of course, looking forward to your investiture tomorrow. Wishing you all the best.
Thank
and
you.
we hope that after 2 years, you get another term. And of course, bring another woman.
No, we only have one term.
Oh, one term. Beautiful.
One term,
so 35th
yes.
president,
and 2
maybe
years
a woman
is a long
too.
time.
All right. 2 years already counting, by the way.
Exactly.
Today's 19th. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Margaret Oguntala, for joining us for the conversation. So now let's have a bit on sports.
Thank you.
And listen.
All right, let's take some foreign stories now.
Ugandan opposition leader and former presidential candidate Bobi Wine says that police had surrounded his residence yesterday and put him under house arrest ahead of a planned protest. Opposition politicians had planned demonstrations on Thursday against the poor condition of roads in Uganda, which is hosting 2 global summits this month. Bobi Wine, a pop star turned politician, says police and soldiers had barred him from leaving his home in the north of the capital, Kampala. Bobi Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyagulanyi, challenged veteran President Yoweri Museveni in Uganda's last election in 2021, calling for an end to his long term in power. The opposition figures are urging Ugandans to protest, demanding government action to address deteriorating road conditions. However, police have pledged to thwart the demonstrations, citing past instances of unrest associated with these politicians and the potential disruption to the ongoing non-aligned movement summit in Kampala, attended by 4,000 delegates. Pakistan and Iran's cross-border air raids this week, targeting militants on each other's soil, mark an unprecedented flare-up at a time when the region is already a tinderbox of tensions. Nuclear-armed Pakistan and its western neighbor are both battling simmering insurgencies in the restive regions along their porous border. Tehran says it hit an Iranian terrorist group with drones and missiles in Pakistan, prompting Islamabad to recall its ambassador and debar his Iranian counterpart.
All right, that's Good Morning Nigeria today. Many thanks for joining us. We hope to see you next week. I'm Henry John. Enjoy your weekend.
And to all our social media fans, we thank you. Keep watching NTA, keep watching Good Morning Nigeria. It's a good drink to start your day. We'll see you next week. From all of us, have a good weekend.